What is up, guys? Welcome back to Teen Talks. I'm your host, Trey. We are teens on a mission. We're going to be doing 2 Timothy chapter 3. If you haven't already, make sure to go check out 1 Timothy 1 and 2 before you see 3. Also, make sure you go check out the beginning of 2 Timothy because 1 Timothy chapter 2 and 3 go well with what we're getting ready to read about. Make sure to go listen to the whole book of 1 Timothy and listen to the previous episode of 2 Timothy. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. Chapter 3, the paragraph title for this is Dealing with False Teachers. We talked about this last week in chapter 2. So what we're getting ready to read about for the start of chapter 3 is what the end times are going to be like. Now, before we talk about what the end times are going to be like, I want you to understand that what I'm about to read is not about the unbelievers, but it's about the believers, what they're going to turn into, false teachers. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. It says, but mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. All right, it's not there's a 50% chance there might be. It's not there probably will be. There will be terrible times. There will be terrible times, no doubt about it. It's gonna happen. Be prepared, Timothy. It's gonna happen. There will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power. Have nothing to do with such people. So these false teachers, right? These teachers, preachers, revivalists, you name it, you fill in the blank. That's what he's saying these people are going to turn into in the last days. Where there are so many preachers and teachers out in this world that are more concerned about the money they make and the way they look rather than what they're preaching and if they're living out what they're preaching. All right? People will be lovers of themselves, just like I talked about, lovers of money. All right, they're going to find things like materialistic things much more pleasurable than God. Boastful, proud, abusive. There are so many prideful teachers and preachers in this world. All right, and if you're a preacher and teacher, you're going to deal with pride. All right, I deal with pride all the time. But what you need to make sure that it doesn't get out of control, right? Because the devil will attack you and has been attacking teachers and preachers. They will be unholy. What was one of the very first things we talked about in 1 Timothy 3 that, the deacons and the overseers had to be, right? They had to be temperate, self-control, respectable, hospitable, able to teach, not violent, but gentle, not quarrelsome, not a lover of money, pure, that's what he's saying these teachers and preachers have to be, or else they're going to turn into this. They're going to turn into what these people are turning into in the end times, all right? Having a form of godliness, right? So they have a form of godliness, right? And they look the part, they sound the part, but denying its power. They're denying the Lord. Have nothing to do with such people. Timothy, don't follow these people. Have nothing to do with them. Set yourself apart. Just like we read in 2 Timothy 22. Flee the evil desires of youth and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace. That's chapter 2 of 2 Timothy we did last week. Flee the evil desires of youth. Don't associate with these people. Don't be involved with these people. He's not saying don't pray for them and try and be there for them, but don't become one of them. All right? People, a lot of times, they are who they hang around with. They are who they're friends with. All right? People who are good friends to one another, they tend to act like each other all the time, right? I act like this person, he acts like me. That's what happens a lot in friendships. Have nothing to do with such people. Because see, in 1 Timothy chapter 4, we see, don't let anyone let down you because you're young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. In order for him to set an example to the believers, he has to be set apart. He has to be different. He has to be able to be used for every good work. Just like we read also in chapter 2 of 2 Timothy. Verse 21, those who cleanse themselves from the latter will be instruments for special purposes, made holy, useful to the master, and prepared to do any good work. Not just some good work, just any good work. Any good work, doesn't matter what it is. If it's a good work for the Lord, Timothy's ready to do it. Because he's called to be special. He's called to be holy. He is circumcised, right? He's different than everybody else. Let's go to verse 6 of chapter 3. It says, they are the kind who worm their way into homes and gain control over gullible women who are loaded down with sins and are swayed by all kinds of evil desires. I love this verse. Always learning, but never able to come to a knowledge of the truth. How many people in church do we see that's been there for years and years and years? Maybe it's in your youth group. Maybe it's in your young adult youth group. Whatever, you fill in the blank. Just in your church, just in your church. They've been there for years, way longer than you. But you notice that they seem to never fully understand the Lord. I'm not saying I fully understand the Lord. I'm not saying you fully understand the Lord. We will never be able to fully understand the Lord. But it's saying they never come to a knowledge of the truth. Always learning. That person at your church has been learning for 20 years, but never able to come to a knowledge of the truth. See, it doesn't matter what you learn, because if you don't take what you've been taught and use it, it's pointless. It's pointless. Because, see, I love to teach. That's something I just love to do, is teach. I may not know much about it, but if I know anything about it, and I feel confident enough, I'll teach you as much as I can, right? But, see, I learn from teaching. Teaching is something I learn more from teaching than being taught, right? Because I check myself. They learn something. They mention something about it that seems similar to them, or I learned something new about them. It helps me so much teaching because I learn from it. All right, I learn teaching right now. Like, I'll be prepping it and all that, but on this, on the actual day when we're going live right now, when God's speaking and all that, that's when I get more. I learn so much more even when I'm doing this. So they are always learning, but never able to come to knowledge of the truth. They're always learning about the Lord, but they're never coming to Him. Guys, we can't do that in our life. We can't be constantly learning about it. Just because you've been at church for thousands and thousands of years, and you've been there since the first brick was put down, doesn't mean you know the Lord. It does not mean that. Does not mean that. God does not care how long you've been in that church. Because church, like you said before, the Bible, church, Sunday school, Sunday night services, worship, that doesn't get you to heaven. Jesus does. Jesus gets you to heaven. Verse 8, just as Janus and Jambres opposed Moses, so also these teachers oppose the truth. So the same people that oppose Moses are going to oppose let me reread it one more time. So these teachers oppose the truth. The false teachers of this world are completely against the truth, and that's the Bible. All right. I want to make sure that when I teach on these podcasts, that it's straight up the truth. Nothing else but straight up raw truth. Guys, this isn't me. This is the Lord. This is His word. All right. And His word hurts sometimes. It brings joy. It hurts. It sometimes gives you goosebumps, sometimes makes you want to cry, sometimes makes you laugh. This book does everything, all right? I don't care what kind of book genre you're into, the Bible's got that in here, all right? You just got to find it. If you just look, you'll find it, all right? Just as Janez and Jambres, I'm probably not saying those right, but it's okay, opposed Moses, so also these teachers oppose the truth. They are men of depraved minds. The meaning of depraved is wicked. wicked minds. That's what he's saying. They have wicked minds. It says, who as far as the faith is concerned are rejected. But they will not get very far, because, as in the case of those men, their folly will be clear to everyone. Will be clear to everyone. What's done in the darkness will be brought to the light. That was said in the Bible. What is done in the darkness will be brought to the light. What have we done? What have I done in the darkness that is going to be brought up in the light? What have you done in the darkness that needs to be brought up in the light? That's when you need to ask the Lord to search me, know my heart, know my ways, convict my heart. That's when you need to pray that prayer, just like David did. Just like David. So before we go any farther, since we're on the end times, we're going to read a little bit more about how depressing the end times are going to be. Matthew 24 is the destruction of the temple and signs of the end times. Now, this is all what Jesus talks about, all right? Jesus talking about the end times. Now, there are so many verses in the Bible talking about the end times. You got Isaiah, you got Revelation. We read 2 Timothy. Jesus talks about it, and pretty sure in all the Gospels they at least have something where he mentions the unknown times, the end times, destruction of the temple, etc. But all in the Bible is end time stuff. So chapter 24, we're going to go ahead and skip down to verse 4. Jesus answered, watch out that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name claiming, I am the Messiah, and will deceive many. A lot of people in this world right now are, believe it or not, are claiming to be the Messiah. So I want to share a quick story about, just to kind of open up your eyes. Ruslan KD did a video. I'll put the link in the description. Did a video about it. I watched it. It blew my mind. All right. If you don't know who DaBaby is, he is a secular rapper. He's been going for quite a while. He's one of the more popular rappers. But DaBaby made a new song, right? And he has a music video for it. Now, I didn't watch the music video. The guy who made the video watched it and then showed a little bit of it, just kind of explained it, broke it down. Really good video. I love Ruslan KD. He's a really great guy. But anyway, this guy's black, all right? He is a black rapper. Before he called himself DaBaby, his original name, all right, you ready, was Baby Jesus. Baby Jesus. That was his original name, was Baby Jesus. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he actually had an album that was called Baby Jesus or something like that. But anyway, so he comes out with this song, he's got a music video, right? Well, in the music video, he literally is on a cross like Jesus, like on a cross just like Jesus. He has a huge diaper on. He looks like an actual baby on the cross. It looks really stupid, but it's blasphemy all day. But guys, it's like, I would hate to be in his shoes right now. I mean, that guy's evil anyway, but like, y'all, he's claimed to be Jesus before, and it's obvious. All right. Now I'm getting ready to hurt a lot of y'all's feelings. Kanye West also as well. I don't like Kanye West. I think he's lukewarm. All right, we're getting ready to talk about that. All right, the Lord wants to puke out those who are lukewarm. I'll show you that in just a minute. The guy just tries to get the best of both worlds. Tries to get the best of secular rap and the Christian rap so he can get more money. Anyway, he came out and did a performance, and guess who he dressed up as? Jesus himself. Kanye West is also black, and he had the crown of thorns on. He had fake blood all over him, and he had a white, it looked like a gown. I can't think of the exact term for it. Like a white looking gown, what they wore back in the Jesus' times, with blood on it, blood on his face, and crown of thorns. Then there's another guy, I believe it was in the early 2000s, maybe late 80s and 90s, I don't remember. Also a black rapper. He as well, he had on one of his music videos, right? There's this huge electric pole, and he's hanging on it resembling Jesus, all right? I'm going to put that video down there. I really recommend you go watch it. So yes, people do pretend to be the Messiah. All right. He's also talking about the Antichrist at the end, who's going to come take over. Right. That's the Antichrist. He's against Christ. All right. And will deceive many. So verse 6, you will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. This is just the beginning of birth pains. People claiming to be the Messiah, wars, earthquakes, violence. That's just the birth pains. That is just the birth pains. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. We're going to stop there. So, I believe it was 1 Timothy chapter 1 where I went to either Ezekiel or Ezra. Just now remembered this. We talked about false prophets. There's a whole chapter on the false prophets and what God said to them. See, false prophets and teachers have been going on for a long time. It's not a new thing. They've been going on since Israel and before all that. Like false prophets, false teachers, that's been a thing for forever. But here's what I want you to understand. We're living in a time that we have social media, YouTube, we have internet in our pocket. We have everything we need in our pockets. All right. They didn't have that back then. All right. But what I want you to understand, we, as our generation, Gen Z, because we have everything in our pocket, it becomes our idol. And also what I want you to understand is that Gen Z is being deceived through social media. We are being attacked by the devil like never before. Our generation is being attacked like never before. And Gen Alpha, which is the generation after us, if you don't know all the generations, go check out one of the episodes in season 1. It says who and what is Gen Z. I talk all about that, what it is. I talk all about that. So if you don't know what that is, go check that out. Or if you just want to look up, that's fine as well. So we as Gen Z are being attacked like never before because the devil knows something special is in us, obviously. Something crazy. We're going to do something crazy in this world, and the devil's trying to stop it. All right? All these false prophets on social media, on the news, on the internet, those are where the false prophets are. All right? They're not as much as in our little groups and in our little tribes and all that. Now it's just everywhere you look. All right? It's like the Full House song. It's like everywhere you look, there's someone, all right, that's false prophets trying to teach you wrong. And it's facts. So let's go ahead and head back to 2 Timothy. We're going to read the first part of the final charge of Timothy. That's the very last part of chapter 3. Then we'll have chapter 4, which will be next week. That'll be the end of season 2 and the end of 2 Timothy. You, however, this is verse 10, you, however, know all about my teaching, my way of life, my purpose, faith, patience, love, endurance, persecutions, sufferings, what kind of things happened to me in Antioch, Iconium, and Lystra, the persecutions I endured, yet the Lord rescued me from all of them. Okay, so he says, you know all about my teachings. We just read about all the false prophets, the false teachers, what they're going to do, how they're going to act. And Paul says to Timothy, you, however, you know about my teaching. You know what I've been through. You know everything that I've seen, I've been through. You know I've been persecuted, beaten, thrown in prison. You know better, Timothy. You know better than to go join that crowd and become a false teacher. You know better. All right. You know what I've been through. He says, yet the Lord rescued me through it all. The Lord rescued me from all of them. All that stuff I've been through, all that crap I've been through, the Lord rescued me through it all. Paul's just crazy. Like, he has been through so much in his life. We would never comprehend as Christians in America. We can never comprehend it. Paul had been put in jail, beaten in pretty much every city, thrown in jail in pretty much every city. He had lived the life of the highest, and he's lived the life of the lowest. But Paul was always grateful and always joyful through it all. He did not let his circumstances define his relationship with the Lord. In fact, everyone who wants to live a godly life in Christ Jesus will be persecuted. Paul is saying, if you want to live a godly life and you want to be a disciple for the Lord, you will be persecuted. Listen close, guys. You will be persecuted. You will be. There's no stopping it. Nothing. If you want to live for the Lord and you want to be a disciple for the Lord, you're going to be persecuted. Every single disciple in the New Testament, every single apostle got persecuted. Got persecuted no matter what. No matter who they were, how long they'd been it. They were disciples for the Lord. They were persecuted. And I don't mean like getting caught out on Instagram or getting, arguing with someone or someone calling you a name for being a Christian. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about being beaten, thrown in prison. That's what these guys had to go through. All right, these guys went through some bad stuff. All right. So anyway, verse 13. While evildoers and impostors will go from bad to worse, deceiving and being deceived. But as for you, continue what you have learned and have become convinced of, because you know those from whom you learned it, and how from infancy you have known the Holy Scriptures, which are able to make you wise for salvation through Christ, through faith in Christ Jesus. Paul, so Timothy, as we see in 1 Timothy verse 14, do not neglect your gift, which is given through the prophecy when the body of elders laid hands on you. And then we see that Paul had also laid hands on him. He prayed over him, gave him gifts through the Spirit. The elders laid hands on him. Timothy was anointed. Timothy had a huge future ahead of him. And Paul's saying, you have so much in store for you. But what I want you to do is make sure you don't let the outside world, and you don't let the things of this world, you don't let the materials of this world, you don't let any of that influence you and take you captive. Don't let the devil use you for his will. Materialistic things are not going to do a thing for you in heaven. The clothes you have, the shoes you have, the phone you have is not going to do anything. I love shoes and I love clothes. But no matter how much I have or how much of it I have, how expensive they are, just think about it. What does it really matter? There's going to be a new one next year, next month, next week. What does it really matter? Yeah, it's fun getting them things. But let's truly think about it. Are you going to have that when you go to heaven? You're going to have that expensive boat when you go to heaven. You're going to have them expensive shoes when you go to heaven. You're going to have that expensive 14 Pro Max phone when you go to heaven. You're going to have the S21 Ultra when you go to heaven. Are you going to have your MacBook Pro when you go to heaven? You fill in the blank, but are you going to have that when you go to heaven? No, you're not. Your relationship with the Lord is what matters right now. We're on earth in order to build a relationship with the Lord and get others to the Lord. That when we go to heaven, then we can live with the Lord and have anything. And we're going to live in paradise. But you have to get a relationship right now in order to get there. Verse 16. All scripture is God-breathed and is useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness, so that the servant of God may be thoroughly equipped for every good work. This Bible can do anything. This Bible can do anything, all right? This Bible has everything in it and can do anything. It may not have everything word for word what you should do in life, but it gives you the basic outlook, and it gives you like so much wisdom, and it convicts you, gives you wisdom, gives you joy, gives you happiness. Like, the Bible can do so much for you. So to close it out, we're going to go to Revelation chapter 3. Remember, I've been talking about not being lukewarm. All right, I'm just going to read this really fast just to end it out. The church in Laodicea, I think I'm saying that right. Verse 15 says, I know your deeds, and you are neither cold nor hot. I wish you were either one or the other. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I'm about to spit you out of my mouth. Man, I don't want to make the Lord sick. I don't want him to spit me out of his mouth. So many Christians and so many teenagers in this world that claim to be Christians are half in and half out. We all want to be part of this world and try and hold on to Christ. I'm preaching to myself, but I have to understand the things of this world are only going to dissolve. They're not going to be here for forever. They eventually have to go. Nothing down here can go to heaven because it's imperfect. We can't go to heaven. This body I have can't go to heaven. It's imperfect. Nothing, think about it. Nothing on this earth, nothing that touches this earth will go to heaven because it's all imperfect. We get new bodies. That's why our spirit has to go to heaven. We get new bodies. Everything's brand new. Everything's perfect in heaven. But you have to learn how to live with the imperfect in order to live with the perfect and be up in heaven with the perfect. Guys, that's all I have for today. Thank you for tuning in. Next week is the very last episode of season 2. Guys, thank you so much for the support. The goal for the end of the year, before we hit 2023, is to hit 1,000 total listens or 1,100 total listens, whichever comes. Right now, we are at over 800. So it shouldn't be too hard. We'll see how everything goes. But guys, make sure to share this to everybody you know. Post it on your social media. Y'all know how to share things. All right. If you're part of Gen Z, if you're part of Gen Z, you know what to do. All right. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, let me know, and we will see you guys next week.